You think you understand physics. You remember formulas, definitions, neat laws that explain everything. Gravity pulls objects down, force equals dot mass times acceleration. It all feels simple, clean, and complete. But what if that version of physics is only a simplified story? What if the reality underneath is far stranger, less intuitive, and much deeper than anything you were taught? In school, physics is presented like a finished system, a set of rules you memorize, apply, and forget. Once the exam is over, it gives you answers, but rarely asks you to question them. Why do things fall? Why do planets move? Why does time behave the way it does? You are told gravity is a force pulling everything downward, but you never actually feel that pull. What you feel is the ground pushing back against you. You are told objects stop because forces disappear, but motion itself is natural. Things only stop because something interferes. And here is the real problem. None of these ideas are exactly wrong. They are just incomplete. They hide the deeper reality behind simple language and convenient shortcuts. So when you look at the world through what you learned in school, you are not seeing the full picture. You are seeing a simplified version designed to make things easier, to learn not to reveal how reality truly works. And once you start noticing these cracks, the questions begin to grow. If this is Dodderts, not the full story, then what is actually happening underneath all of this? Because physics is not just about equations, it is about understanding reality. And that understanding begins the moment you realize you were only seeing the surface. The deeper layer is waiting beneath everything you were told. It changes how you see motion, space, time, and even yourself. And once you see it, you cannot go back to the old. Now that doubt has started to grow. The real question appears, what is physics actually describing, if not those simple rules you memorized? The equations were never the problem. The problem is how they were taught you. We're given results without the reasoning patterns, without the intuition that makes those results meaningful. Take motion. In school you learn that forces cause motion, but that is backwards. Motion does not need a cause. Motion is the natural state. An object moving will keep moving forever unless something interferes. What needs explanation is not motion, but change. A change in speed. That is where forces come in, not as creators of motion, but as modifiers of it. Think about gravity again. You were told it is a force pulling objects toward Earth, but what you actually observe is objects following predictable paths. An apple falls, the moon orbits, planets circle the sun. These are not random pulls. They are patterns shaped by deeper structure. The dot equation describes the pattern, but it does not tell you why that pattern exists. And this is where school physics becomes limited. It separates ideas into isolated topics. Forces, motion, energy waves. Each dot is treated like a different chapter. But in reality, they are connected expressions of the same underlying behavior. The equations are like shadows of a deeper system. They work perfectly for calculation, but they hide the mechanism behind simple symbols. Real physics is about relationships, not memorization. It asks what stays the same when everything else changes. It looks for patterns that repeat across different situations. It tries to understand not just how things behave, but why that behavior emerges at all. So when you move beyond equations, you start to see something different. Physics is no longer a set of rules you follow. It becomes a way of thinking, a way of seeing connections that were invisible before. And once you begin to see those connections, the world stops looking mechanical and starts feeling structured, almost like everything is following a hidden design waiting to be understood. So if physics is not just formulas and not just simplified rules, what is it really showing you? It is showing you that reality is not built the way your intuition expects. It only appears simple because your brain filters it into something manageable. But underneath that surface is a structure far more precise and far more strange than anything you were taught in school Take space, for example. You imagine it as empty a stage where things happen. But in modern physics, space is not empty at all. It has structure, it can bend, stretch, and evolve. Objects do not just move through space, they respond to its geometry. What you thought was a force can emerge from the shape of space itself. That means the path of a planet or the fall of an apple is not something being pushed or pulled, but something following the natural layout of reality. And then there is time. You experience it as constant, steady, always moving forward. But physics shows that time depends on motion and gravity. It can slow down, speed up, and even behave differently depending on where you are and how you move. The idea of a universal ticking clock disappears, replaced by something free,